Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Powerful Creator Weekly Money Mastermind. We are going over Rich Dad, Poor Dad, overcoming obstacles. I'm really grateful for this chapter and this community. Last time, or like last Powerful Creator call, we talked about accountability partners, and this call has been like an accountability call like for me, and it's really helped me create like a system around my financial literacy. So I'm really grateful for y'all showing up, because us having systems for our financial literacy is really important. Like, it's just something that we've learned in this book that we have to have. Like, we always have to be increasing our financial literacy, like, and especially us, like in just in this generation, like we know, like we were not taught financial literacy in school. It's not anywhere normalized, and so we as powerful creators have to normalize it in our lives. We have to normalize continuously learning, continuously educating ourselves, continuously learning how to like upgrade our systems and upgrade our mind to being financially sharp, so we can keep building our financial foundation. So I'll start off with my take on this chapter. Reading this chapter today, I really liked it. It really reminded me a lot of just like the power of belief and the power of our mindset. Like one thing that I've like focused on over the past couple years in my development is honestly like overcoming fear and having a positive mindset and a powerful mindset, like really being resilient. And that's one thing that he talked about in this chapter a lot, is that the difference between rich people and poor people is the way that they handle fear, and Powerful Creator, my whole message is about moving from fear to power, right? It's from operating in fear to operating in power. So us as powerful creators, we're doing the work to learn how to handle fear. We're doing the work to, face our fears in every area of our life, and to meet it with power. So I'm like really grateful for that. Um what were some specific things he talked about? So one, like in the first sentence, I really liked that he said, once people become financially literate, this is what holds them back. So it's not just enough to be financially literate. Like, we can learn all this stuff, learn what to do, but if we still deal with these like mindsets that he talked about in this chapter, we're still not gonna, it's not gonna be enough for us to be financially free. So we can learn all the things, but if we're still dealing with fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance, um, then that's still gonna hold us back, And so just like to hit on fear real quick, like one of my favorite things that obviously he talked about was like having like the Texas attitude of turning all of your losses into wins, right? Or having that attitude. One thing that I really like that he mentioned was like, whenever he said that the people that he was talking about, he said they knew who they were. They knew how they handled fear. They knew how they handled failure. So they weren't afraid of it. They knew that if they lost more, that it would just turn into more inspiration. And honestly, I resonate with that a lot. Like, for real, like I feel like I've really decided like who I am in this world, and that I'm going to achieve every single thing that I desire, because that's what I truly believe in. And that, so anything that goes wrong, I really believe that I'm going to turn it into a blessing. I'm going to turn it into something that um something that is positive, or like something that's a win for me. And that can go from something that's like practical to like super deep. Like, something practical would be like my registration, like me getting that whole thing, like I got a parking violation and they're like, you got 7 days or we're about to tow your car, so instead of like complaining about it, like at first I did, and I was frustrated and I didn't want to do it, it was all the things, but then I turned it into a challenge, and I was like, okay, you think that I can't freaking figure this out in 7 days? You think gonna figure it out, right? And so we turned it into a win, and it ended up getting everything I needed to fix, so it's really about the attitude that you have. And then something else that I just wanted to share is like, also like when it comes to fear, like using that as inspiration. Like, honestly, recently I've had a lot of like conviction in my life. I've had a lot of things going on with my family that continuously remind me of why we're doing this work. Like, my family's great. Everything's fine on a average level, but I want more for us. I don't like seeing like where my family is financially, like just to be transparent with you, I don't like to see where my sisters are. I don't like to see where my mom is. I don't like to see my dad still working like over 60 years old. And I see my family every single weekend. And so I'm consistently reminded of why I'm doing this, and he talked about it in the chapter, like in the chapter later when it came to cynicism. Like people say, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that to make money and to create financial freedom. And honestly, like I think that's why we have to continuously remind ourselves of our why and why we're doing this. Because if I just be 100% clear, like there's nothing I'm not willing to do to get out of this fucking rat race. You know what I mean? Like I've done it all. Like I've walked dogs, I've wiped ass, I've fucking worked 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, two or three jobs at the same fucking time. And it's just built this like resilience within me, like sometimes when I hear people talking about money and they're like, I can't make any money or I don't know how to make money. And I'm like, did you knock on your neighbor's door and ask her to clean her house for 20 bucks? Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, what do we gotta do, honey? Like, because that was like, that's just really the attitude that it takes. Like, there's no other option. Like, what are we gonna do? Just sit here and be mad? We might as well be doing something if we're gonna be mad. Anyways, okay. I'm gonna end on that. No, one last thing. He said that doubt is expensive. He said the savvy investor knows that seemingly the worst of times is actually the best of times to make money. And I really love that he talked about this. He talked about the noise. And I really, really love that it hit on that because that to me, like that's what social media and and like that's what too much of that can do. It can cause so much fucking noise. Like like what he talks about, like the doom and gloom, like the chicken little, like the market is falling, like this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. And one thing that I realized over even just my 30 years of being here is that there is always something wrong going on. Always. There has never been a time in the fucking economy based on the news or based on what social media is saying that everything's just been good ever. Like it's always been fucking horrible. Like and so sometimes like now like when I realize it I'm like, oh, that's not really the case. It's just that like there's people making money off of other people's fears. You know what I mean? And people who are like stuck on social media and stuck and who aren't tuning into themselves, into their own power and aren't focused on one thing will get caught up in the propaganda, will get caught up in other people's agendas, what other people want to do. And sometimes it's just straight up like fucking marketing. Like you can't even be mad at it. You know what I mean? Like people have things to sell and part of marketing is literally pointing out somebody else's needs and making it obvious to them, right? And so sometimes like some people are just doing their job, but if we're too much on social, if we're not focused on what it is that we want and what we're doing, we're gonna get swayed a different way. We're gonna get caught up in the noise. And so that's why I believe like part of our work is making sure that we're staying focused, making sure that we know what we're working on right now and why. Like for me personally, like I know honestly I could do fucking anything. Like let's just be honest. Like I just feel really good about myself and I'm just gonna stand in it. You know what I mean? Like I have the belief, I know who I am. I know how to think. I know how my brain works. And I could be a fucking amazing at anything, like if I were to get into real estate, into um like anything that I wanted to do, I would be successful in, right? But it's about focusing on one thing long enough, right? Like, that's what it said. Follow one course until successful. And right now, when it comes to like my financial literacy, my financial life, like I'm really focused on like learning how to invest like into forex. And that's something. And then and the reason why is because I've already started that's something I've already spent time in, that's something I've already invested into learning and already invested into doing. And do I want other assets? Of course. Do I want to get into the real estate? Yes. I do digital marketing. I literally sell, like I'm going to sell products online, like digitally eventually. Um, but right now I'm focused on that, right? Until successful. Anyways, that's what I got from this chapter, and I really, really like it. It really got me freaking hype. So I'm gonna click on Roshizi next.
All right. Well, I was going to talk about your last point that you talked about. So I will still share my perspective on it. And thank you for sharing and opening this up. I really like the Chicken Little metaphor that he used, because for one, I used to love watching that movie when I was little, and so it just resonates. But he was talking about how there's a Chicken Little inside of everybody, and like that Chicken Little is the cynic, and how um the that cynic really just comes from fear and ignorance, like not knowing, and then be like fear what we don't know. And so he, yeah, kept talking about the sky is falling, and I thought it was really timely for me specifically because just earlier today, before I took that nap, I wasn't even scrolling through Instagram. I just opened it to look at a message that I got sent. But the first thing on my page was like a post about how Trump's bill just got passed, this big beautiful bill, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. The post didn't have any information about it, so I went and asked ChatGPT and just like got information about that whole thing. And honestly, reading about it, learning about it, kind of made me start to get fearful a little bit. Not even fearful fully. I was just starting to feel a little nervous because, like, the bill talks about cutting, a bunch of social funding that, like, we are dependent on. And so I was just like, how does this affect me and my kid? And like, um, it reminded me too of like a couple weeks ago when people were posting on social media as well about how the people in the U.S. military were being fed these like steaks and lavish meals, and like this only happens when we're about to go to war. And I'm like, why are our soldiers preparing to go to war? And then all these things, the news headlines and the bombing here and the war in Israel and all this stuff, right? Like it is all very much like noise and propaganda, like Amber was talking about. And as much as that's true, I believe that like my feelings and anyone's feelings about what's going on at a larger scale is like valid. Like the fear that we feel is valid, and at the same time, like I don't know, I can't let the fear like overcome me. Like I was able to acknowledge my feelings in the moment and be like, okay, we're actually good. And then ChatGPT was like, tell me what state you live in, because like all these different, this bill is a federal bill, but each state is gonna make its own decision when it comes to how it's gonna like how their programs are gonna be impacted by this bill. And I said I live in Minnesota, and thank God, because Minnesota is like a state that does the most to like protect things like SNAP and Medicaid and all these services that people need. And so that was good. That was affirming. And then I listened to this chapter, and he was talking about how people, I forget what time period it was, but people were, there kept being rumors that there was going to be a nuclear war. So people were building these shelters and like prepared, like stocking up on food and all this stuff. And I don't think that it ever happened, but he said that if people would have invested all that time and money into themselves, they would have been financially independent by now. But instead, they all let the fear take over them and were preparing for this nuclear attack that never happened. So it just was timely, listening to that chapter just now, and then being reminded of like, I don't have to, like that's exactly what he was describing. The whole thing that I just went through earlier today was what he was describing. And he said that like that fear is what keeps people from investing in themselves and trying to get, or not trying, but getting rich, because like they're more afraid of losing. I like how we talked about people will trade in the stock market, but they will trade to like they trade to not lose, or they'll invest to not lose instead of like investing to win or trading to win. And so he was like talking about that and how like do like trading with the idea of not losing is different than trading with the idea of winning. And I don't know, I can't really remember everything he said about that, but just like what I got from it was just that like people be I think he opened the chapter with talking about how nobody likes to lose money, but all rich people have lost money. And it's like I thought about, you have to pay to play kind of thing. And as long as there's always like a consistent like income of cash flow coming in, and like there will be some losses, but there will also be some W's, and like it's like he talked about investing is not difficult as far as like set a fifth grade um level of math. And I'm pretty sure we all have like a fifth grade, at least a fifth grade level of math. Like that's all you need to know. And then just like really being smart about finding the right investments. You know? What else? Talked about the laziness, overcoming laziness. And that was important at the end there because he talked about the most common form of laziness or the most lazy person is a busy person or something like that. How like people will stay busy, too busy to like work on their health, work on their wealth. Like, oh, I'm so here's the example of like I'm so busy, I can't get rich today. For one, what if I lose? You know, the fear. And then for two, like I'm too busy. My boss wants me to finish this tonight. It has to be done by the morning. So like I have too much to do anyway. I can't do that or whatever, right? And that was really another just like really clear example of how like the rat race, how we get stuck, like it made me think too of in school how the teachers will give us busy work, like they give us something to do just to fill time, but it's nothing it's not new material, it's not challenging, it's not. I used to hate that so bad because I'd be like, I can go do so many other productive things with my time, but I had to sit there and do this worksheet or whatever, right? Like that is how people stay busy just doing essentially nothing. I mean, like, people will say the excuse like I'm working or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, but like, what are they really doing? And it made me think about my mom and how my mom is really busy all the time working for her job and working on her home and her garden and all these things. But then, like, she always talks about how she never has time. She's like, I don't have any time. Like, this whole weekend went by and I didn't get anything done. And I'm like, how, if you're always busy working, did you not get anything done? And how do you not have enough time? It just doesn't make sense to me. And like, I understand, like, I know because she just be like busying herself, but what it really is laziness. And so I don't know. That was just like a really good reminder for me too, because like we all have that ability to like find ourselves so busy that we're slacking off on what's really important. So and then at the very end, he just said, if you ever find a topic that you're ignorant in, like find an expert and learn from them, or pick up a book in the subject and read it. Like, don't just be out here willingly ignorant. And that's something that I cannot agree with more. Because I don't like when people are just like willfully ignorant. Like you just are okay with not knowing. Me, I Google everything. And now ChatGPT is like my new Google. Like I want to know. I gotta know. I'm always like learning about new things because like, and I'm not afraid to be like I don't know about something. I don't know what that means, you know, because that's how we learn and that's how we grow. And he talked about that too. He talked about the changing the words from I can't afford it to how can I afford it. Saying I can't afford it shuts your brain down and makes it not think versus being like how can I afford it opens it up, make it and start thinking and doing work. So yeah. Don't let your brain go to sleep. Stay woke. That's all I have. Nicole, go
All right, I got a few seconds before my phone dies. So thank you for sharing, guys. I wanted to touch on just I didn't know what cynicism was. Apparently, it's doubt and activity. I just called it doubt and activity all my life. So um, I just like that it pointed out the five different main obstacles that we need to be more aware of, so that we can, when we are going through it and trying to figure out why it's not working, we can kind of take away and pinpoint what it is that might be stopping us from getting what we want. And so I think that how you handle fear itself, is like your own perspective, but like not failing to learn. Like I think the whole thing is learning from your mistakes is my key takeaway. Sorry, my phone is like 2%. I'm totally gonna not be able to make my point. But I love you guys and I really want to share. I'll have to write it up for y'all. But it said that, learning from your mistakes it's like if you're losers avoid failures, winners learn from it. And so I think that was a big takeaway. Again, I always see every big loss and things that happen in life as like one of the biggest lessons. And when you can take that and just really like own it and know that like that's going to make you better and grow from it, that's like really growth. That's like really like the mindset of success and not letting the fear and the mistake overcome the opportunity for what you're going to get from it, from moving forward and like moving past it and through it. And so I just wanted to share that. Yeah, I would share more, but 1%. I'm fixing to die, guys.
Thank you for sharing so much. And honestly, everybody here, like us three, and I mean, really everybody in Powerful Creator, like a big reason why we're aligned is because of our mindsets, the mindset that we have, like that's something super, super big for all of us. And so overcoming these things like fear, doubt, what was it? Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. That's what the work is all about, like our daily power practices, like daily
Yep.
tuning into ourselves, daily audios,
Yep.
daily. She died. um, but yeah, that's what the work is all about, the daily audios, showing up on the calls, like us utilizing these tools is the work that drives out the fear, the cynicism, the laziness, the bad habits, the arrogance. Like us even being aware of these things is because we do the work. It's because we read this book, which is part of the work. you know? So yeah, so this like just feels really, really good. Like I feel like we have a lot of momentum right now, like personally, communicatively, in a lot of ways. And I'm just excited for us to continue to build upon that. Is there anything else that you want to say, Roshizi?
Yes, actually, from my mind, the solution to the laziness talked about was a little bit of greed, which I thought was interesting because I was thinking about in the one of the previous chapters, he said like the two emotions that run people are fear and greed. But now he's saying like just a little bit of greed. Hold on, is the exit? Yes, the exit. Just a little bit of greed, like basically not even greed, because I feel like that word has a negative context, but he also says desire, like, is what is the solution to laziness. And we talk about desire all the time, getting clear on what we want and why. And so, yeah, I think that was just a little piece. And again, that I forgot to say initially that is also very important. That's it.
Yes, yes. No, I know what you mean. Like, yeah, like having that desire, um, like that's where it's at, you know what I mean? And I feel like that desire is birthed out of like conviction, like the stuff that we don't want and the stuff that we do want. Like I know for me, a big reason why I've been able to make a lot of progress recently, and I feel like in a short period of time, is because I finally decided like my desires just got more and more specific, like I was tired of doing like the busy work of just going around all of a sudden and just started focusing in on the specific work of like what does it actually take, like what are income producing activities, like where am I actually moving the money that's gonna you know um and yeah, and it's because we want it. We want it fucking bad enough. And I don't think that we should feel bad about that at all. Like I think that we should really like stand in our power with that of getting clear what we want. Like we don't want this, we don't want to be in the rat race. We don't want to live in fear and to live in doubt and to live in scarcity and to live and think that we don't like there's not enough of of money out here for us to be able to achieve our dreams and be excited and have fun because there is. It's all about the way that we think about it and our mindset to it. And I just keep thinking about what he says, like the difference between a rich person and a poor person is the way that they handle fear. And to me, that just makes me want to be like, well, I'm gonna make fear my bitch. Like, fuck you. you
My
know,
baby in the background just said, "Yay!"
so funny. But yes, felt very empowered by this chapter. And it's just, reading this, like it just got me hyped to continue to learn how to invest and to ask questions and do the work. Like, but like I said,
Also,
go ahead.
that story too about how he had a friend that was gonna buy a property, but then backed out with the buyer's remorse. Like that was crazy to me because I was like the way he said the numbers after the property was sold and then rented out over and over, like I forget how much it was, but like that would have been a winning investment. And his friend backed out because he went and listened to his neighbor who said that it wasn't a good idea. It was like, "Did your neighbor invest?" He was like, "No." He's like, "Why would you listen to him?" And so that was just crazy because
I love
that
that
made
part.
me think of too, like, yeah, we have to be mindful of who we listen to, and reminds me of the saying that, like, when you buy someone's opinion, you buy into their lifestyle. And so, like, just, I don't want to just listen to just anybody. I'll hear you out, but I'm not gonna like take your advice unless you have something that I know that I want, or you're doing something that I know that you're doing. Which also reminds me how he also said that there's a bunch of people who will question him and tell him not to do what he's doing, but they don't ever do it. Like they don't ever invest, they don't ever take risks, they don't ever do anything, but they're telling him what he's doing is wrong,
Hmm.
or not to do it or stupid. So yeah, that
Yeah.
part.
I really, really like that part too. I'm so glad that you brought that part up because like I believe in that. Like I believe in listening to people who have what you want. And a lot of times, like a lot of the people who have like the most things to say, I'm what do they even got going on? Like, do they even know how to do it? You know what I mean? And then what I realized too is when you continue to do the work and like educate yourself and inform yourself and actually be in there, you can tell that they're full of shit. Like, like, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell you just ask a couple questions and be like, oh, you're just talking. You're just you're just upset. You're just mad. But you're not
Yeah.
doing the necessary steps it takes to actually figure it out, And a lot of people really just don't believe. I do believe people just don't know, but I think like, after they know it's a choice whether to believe that they can or not.
Mm.
And I think that like at a certain point, I feel like we have to choose. Like I know for me personally, like us, like we've decided to believe, and I'm like way past that. And I'm like just looking to connect with people who have decided to believe in that and who are after it. You know what I mean? And when it comes to the people who are like still discovering, like, to be inspiration, be an example. But for the people who are like cynics, like who are like real skeptical or have like a bunch of cynicism or have like a lot of stuff to say, like I just don't have time for that, like at all. I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Bye. Like just not like I'm sorry, dude. You know what I mean? Like I am not your savior. And I think like the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I feel like a lot of times, like when we have a desire to lead and we have a desire to help the people around us, like sometimes we can get stuck on the people who aren't doing the work and they have a lot to say. You know what I mean? Instead of actually just focusing on who is. And it's because those people are sometimes like our friends, or like the closest people to us or our family. And there's, there's not on the same path at the moment. It's
Mhm.
okay. I feel like I
Oh,
get caught up in that a lot, to be honest. And like sometimes I just have to realize, like at the end of the day, it really like us building this financial foundation really comes down to us making those choices of continuously doing something different, And they're not going to be easy and they're not going to be convenient, but they are possible.
yes.
And fuck it. We can do hard things. You know what I mean? We can do the stuff that's not convenient. Like when he was talking in this chapter about the I don't want and like when he was saying like people don't want to do real estate because they're like, oh, I don't want to clean toilets. I'm like, dude, like that's what he said. He's like, I'm talking about financial freedom and they're thinking about toilets. You
Right.
know? Like I think about that all the
I
time.
don't
And I
even know how they got to that. I never would have thought of cleaning toilets or real
But
estate.
it's just because like people will be like stuck in it. But like that reminds me of like people I've talked to when it comes to like investing when they're like, oh, like that looks like it's hard or like, like it's
Mhm.
risk. And I'm just like, being broke is hard. You're already having a hard
Right.
fucking time. Like, what do you mean it's hard? Like, what else is there? My question is like, what else are you doing? Like, what do you got? Like
Right.
because uh You know what I mean? And it really comes from a place of love and being like, what the fuck? But at some point, I'm like, you know what? This is not my job. My job is to, honestly, I was thinking about it myself right now, right before this, where I was like, because even catching ourselves in those moments of being like, sometimes I feel like we get stuck on not wanting to be around those people, that we're spending time thinking about not being around those people and not actually spending that time doing the work.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I was literally like thinking about that earlier. I was like literally thinking about somebody that I was like, you know what, like this person is just not aligned with me right now. And I just got, and I was like, Amber, what are you doing right now? You're not even talking to that person. Like you spent all this time thinking about, you know what I mean? Like in this moment right now, you are laying here thinking about how you don't want to talk to them when you could be reading the fucking chapter.
Yeah, I've done that too.
You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, like it's so crazy. But whatever, that's the process, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
willing to
We
calm.
can't fully control all of our thoughts, but it's like having to grab them and redirect them, you know?
Yes, yes,
We're not
redirecting.
about to stick.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. But yeah, I'm about to pull up to see my mom, so I'm gonna get off. I feel like this is also a good stopping point in this conversation. But
Yes, definitely.
thank you.
Do you have anything else to say before we close out our call?
Um, well, yeah, Cardi B said the people who talk the most shit are the people who shit out together. And that's all
And
I want to
that's
end
on that.
on. But yeah, no, thank you for opening the space and for, you know, just being you, the baddest to do it. I'll see when I see you.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close out. Next week we'll be meeting, same time, same place. We'll be discussing the next chapter, which is getting started. So next chapter is going to have some action steps. Really, really excited about that. When it comes to this previous chapter, I recommend throughout the week reading it, over and over again, meditating on it, pondering on it, having discussions about it, listening to it, over and over and over again, and then obviously reading the blog and applying the action steps and the work. You know what I mean? Because just be honest. Like I'm all about being honest, more honest these days. And when are we gonna do it again? We're gonna read this book again, but it's probably gonna be like a long time from now. So take advantage of the energy that we're in it right now and do it. Also do it
Mm.
whenever you're called. Okay, love y'all. Bye guys. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.